We are very, very happy to be in your midst. I would have to say all is well, not exactly what I want, but or how I want it, but by the mercies of our Father, all is well. I greet the whole house of Israel, and I thank each and every one of you for being able to share with us this morning our presentation. As we continue our teaching with the book of Enoch, with the Enoch calendar, we have several questions in front of us, and one of them is whether or not Enoch had his own calendar. So far, from what we have seen last week and what we are going to see today, it becomes evident that Enoch did not have his calendar or his own calendar. As a matter, I don't think anybody in our Bible history had their own calendar. The Father gave Israel the calendar that he wanted them to follow and specify the days that were holy and so on from it. As we were divided and wanted to do our own thing, he said he's going to send us among the heathen, and there we're going to do just like them. We're going to be called Gentiles. And today when you speak to people, they tell you, I am a Gentile saved by grace. And sometimes we have to laugh, not at them, but it is so evident things are falling into place that they are not understanding. But we, as we begin to search the scriptures, it is evident to us what they are saying, although they do not understand what they are telling us when they tell us that we are Gentiles. But we know, to us, it is evident because we know what our Bible teaches. Again, as I encourage all of us that we should study to show ourselves approved, not to the man next door or to a church. Sometimes we want to go to someone because we have learned something and we want to prove, we know something, so we go to them and try to prove that, the Sabbath is not Saturday or whatever. But that is not all. We have to be able to prove who we are to our Messiah. We cannot be unholy while we think we are holy. As Yonah said earlier, we have to prove ourselves to Messiah, to the Father, not to your mom or the man next door. And as we begin to study our Bible, the signs around us should not frighten us, although every day is uncertain. But again, the scriptures tell us in the last days the things that are going to take place. Man's heart is filling them for fear because of the things that they see coming upon the earth. And we are now living in this time, although I think it will get worse than it is today. The weather down here is such a mess. We haven't had good rain for a couple of months. Well, everything is drying up. The sun is very hot. For a couple of months, we had breezes that are out of season, I would say. And sometimes we have high gusts, which sometimes make you think, what's next? But it is very dry. Even the trees that are designed to stay almost without water are starting to lose their color. And as we are approaching the last days, we are very uncertain as to what will be. Again, this is not something that we should be alarmed of. The thing we have to be alarmed of is to do what you can or what you have to for the Messiah, because we do not have everlasting life yet on this earth. Many times we live as though we are, but we have not achieved that. And the time is coming that we will leave. So we ought to live the life that, when it's time to leave, that we are not crying because we have to leave. We are crying because we have fought a good fight. And we have done our best with what we have. Therefore, we are happy. We are crying because we have tears of joy that, we are just about leaving to go on the other side. Paul didn't cry because he was leaving. He said, I have fought a good fight. Paul was ready to go. Are we ready to go today? Is the question. And again, back to the study that we are having, we are going to proceed again and show you that Enoch did not have any specific calendar. Enoch was shown the luminaries and how they work, and how to put one and one and one together so that we can achieve what we have today. Many people take certain verses and they have the interpretation for it, but as I said, we will get there. But in the meantime, I will show you why the verses does not add up. So if the equation does not add up at the end, the answer that most people have is wrong. Now, let me just caution a little bit. We are not here to, like I said last week, we are not here in this business to put people to shame or to try to trash people or to try to achieve anything above anybody else. This is not our goal, and it should not be the goal of Israel at any time. There are things that we are going to say that, most people are not going to like because it's not what they want to hear. But I must tell you, there was a time that I didn't want to hear myself. I thought what I had was the truth and there's no other. But again, as I sat and studied and looked for myself, I found out it was not so. You want to mention earlier again that sometimes we look at the money and we do whatever we have to do to keep those monies coming in. But the time is coming again that you're going to have to run. You're going to have to leave the piggy bank and the safe in the wall and all these things, and you're going to have to run for your life. Time is coming that we have to make a decision whether we will serve Yahuwah or we will give up. So I think now is a good time to begin your training, that when things are hard, it will not all come down upon you at one time. Again, we are not here to try to clean up our doctrine or to show that what we believe is better than anybody else. Everybody at the sound of my voice has their own mind and their own intellect and so on. What I'm showing you is I'm not showing you to, let's say, beat it into you or to change you by force or anything like that. We are not that way. And even the Heavenly Father is not that way because he gave us a choice. So as we read and study these various things, it's up to you to, take what you need and leave the rest. Somebody say, take the meat and leave the bones. But we are not going to give you any bones. We're going to give you all meat. Sometimes we have meat that are too rich. And that is why I try to divide the lesson so that we don't have all of it at one time. And, that confuses you. If you have too much food, no matter how good it is, you want to leave some behind. So therefore, we kind of share out the meal that you can eat all of it. You can consider it, you can ponder, you can chew, you can take your time and take it in. Okay, so let us continue. Let us go into our lesson. Now, I have a note here I want to share with you. It's easier to put it on the presentation than to go back every time between screens and so on. Okay, let me try to get rid of this. Okay. As I was studying this, I found a part of the same teaching we are studying here, those who believe in the Enoch calendar. And one of the things they are saying that the word Kodesh or new moon that appears in our scriptures is not used to define a month, okay? But it is only used to signal the feast days, the sacrifices, and the annual Sabbaths and so on. So again, their job is to disqualify the moon. They are going to do whatever it takes to get the moon out of the way. If you can do that, then you can teach whatever you want. But it's a little difficult for me to understand why you want to do that when, I mean, throughout all of the scriptures, it tells you about the moon, hardly about the stars. I think the moon is even mentioned more than the stars. I'm not sure. I think so. And why are we trying to get rid of it? Again, is because if we do, then you can come in with any teaching you want because the moon will be out of place. Let's look at Genesis 29, verse 14.
Genesis 29:14. And Laban said unto him, surely thou art my bones and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. Numbers 11, 20 and 21. But even a whole month until it came out of your nostrils, and it be loathsome unto you, because that he have despised Yahuwah, which is among you, and have wept before him, saying, why came we forth out of Egypt? Verse 21. And Moses said, the people among whom I am are 600,000 footmen. And thou hast said, I will give them flesh that they may eat a whole month.
Okay, so why I put these two verses here, actually we have three, we have another one because I also noticed there was asking for witnesses. So if you have one, it's not good enough. If you have two, it's not good enough. They want at least three. So let's do that. We have Jacob here in the first verse, 29 verse 14, Genesis. Laban asked him, surely thou art bone of my bone. Laban said to him, Jacob, and he abode with him the space of a month. Okay, so the space of a month here, the word used here is new moon, Kodesh. So we know by reading the story that he didn't stay for one night. Okay, so there we see there's no feast going on here, no sacrificial system going on here, or any feast. The word Kodesh again is interchangeable, and unless you understand that, okay, you're going to be caught in the waves of whoever wants to say what. We have another example again in Numbers 11, verses 20 and 21. And this is talking about the Father giving Israel flesh to eat. Okay? And he's saying that he's going to give them flesh a whole month. Now, if we're talking about one day, which is the day of the new moon, why would we use the word whole? Okay, so whole here is telling us that it's more than one night or one day, which they are telling us that when you use the word Kodesh or new moon, we're talking about one day. Okay, so I just put that here so that we can see it for ourselves. And that is by no means all of the scriptures. I try to give you at least three, but there's more. We have Jubilees again, one of their favorite books, 45 verse 1.
Jubilees 45:1. And Israel went into the country of Egypt, into the land of Goshen, on the new moon of the 4th month, in the 2nd year of the 3rd week of the 45th Jubilee.
Okay, so here it is again. I don't see anything about animal sacrifice. I don't see anything about speaking about the feast or anything like that. But again, sometimes people have their agenda, and in order to teach certain things, you must, I guess, have these teachings. What feast is this pertaining to? These scriptures we just look at, actually no feast. I don't see a feast there. Okay, so let's get back to where we stopped last week. Equal seasons of 91 days. Although the season, one second, let me zoom this down a little bit. This has been giving me a beating to try to get to show my full screen here, but I guess we'll deal with it. Although the seasonal equinox and the solstice seems to divide the year into 4 equal parts, when you count the days of what we officially call winter, spring, summer, and fall, each season is different. We have the winter is about 89 days long. The autumn is about 90 days. The spring is about 93 days. And the summer is about 94 days. The seasons are never equally divided. Okay, on your right side, we have the Enochian calendar, how it is divided, or how they give you the whole year and divide it into seasons. Okay, and what they have here is that each season has 90 days, and at the last month, you add 1 day. Okay, that will give you 364 days. All right, so the 90 in the middle will give you 360. But they modified that and they said, well, let's add 1 day because the book of Enoch says you should. And you have 364. Okay, so according to what we are saying here is that this isn't possible because the seasons are not divided equally. Well, somebody might say, well, this is mad science. We don't believe science, brother, so keep going. All right. We'll visit that again as we go. If the earth made a perfect circle around the sun, the seasons would be almost exactly equal. But we don't circle, we do an ellipse. So in our 365.4.25 or quarter days tour, at some point we are closer to the sun, and at other times we are much further away. And when we are close, we tend to speed up. While we are far or further, we tend to slow down. Okay, so we can read about it. It's right here on your right. You could Google that, and there's plenty of information about that. Again, somebody may say, well, this is mad science. So we will continue and see what the rest of the presentation would give you. I look at the presentation, I will give you the link also, where we have a moderator who is a Enoch calendar believer. He's using a clock or timepiece to represent the sun, moon, and stars. He informs the viewers in the beginning that the sun, the moon, and the stars were created by Yahuwah in order to track the years, the time, and the seasons. Okay, that's what he says. That's not my words. You can look at it for yourself. Again, he's saying that the sun, the moon, and the stars were created by Yahuwah in order to track the years, the times, and the seasons. To that I say, very good. But he's going to change his mind soon. He continues by saying, on any clock, you have 3 major components, or what we call hands. By those, we are able to tell the time, okay? We have the hour hand, which represent the sun, the minute hand, the moon, and the second hand, the stars. Just as there are 12 months in the year, there are 12 divisions on the clock. The hand that determines the time the most is the hour hand. Okay, that's what he's saying. That's not my words. The main way you can tell the year is by the months. Okay. It's starting to confuse me a little bit, but I'm trying my best to follow him. The main way we can tell the time, again, he says, is by the months. The hour hand represents the months.
This clock represents a year. Since the hour hand tells us the year, months, he then tells us that we can get rid of the second hand, also the minute hand, because it isn't necessary to tell us the time. The minute and second hand tells us how close or how far we are from the event. If we get rid of them, then everything would come upon us unawares. If the moon and stars were unnecessary, as he demonstrated, the Creator wouldn't have placed them in his heaven lineup.
In the beginning, he said that the sun, the moon, and the stars were created by Yahuwah in order to track the year, the time, the seasons. Okay, so now he's telling us you do not need the hands. You don't need the additional hands. You don't need the moon. You don't need the stars. All you need is one hand. Okay. All we need to determine the hour or the year is the hour hand. Okay, that's his words. Let's continue.
This sounds very good, but if the hour hand shows you only the year that we are in, what or how does the sun shows us the months or the week or the day of the day that we are presently in?
Okay, so what we are saying here is that if you eliminate the moon and the stars, like he's saying, you only need one hand. Then the question remains, how do we determine the months, the weeks, the seasons, and all of these things with one hand? Okay. My question is, if the clock has three main components to tell us time, I did that wrong. Let's do it again. My question is, if the clock has three main components to tell us time, the time of the year, actually that's not right. He's saying that the clock had three main components to tell us the time of the year. Why would you eliminate two of them is the question. If you do, they are no longer main components, okay? Because in the beginning, he's telling us there are three major or main components. Now he's eliminating two. So the question is, if you eliminate two, then you cannot say there are three main components, okay? Let's continue. Wouldn't you then have to state that there is only one major component on the clock? I believe so. Mr. Teacher, why don't you take those hands off the clock at your home? Okay, eliminate the two hands that you say are not necessary on the clock at your house. You need to do the same thing if you have one in the car. You need to do the same thing with all of the clocks that you have at work and so on. Any place that you have clocks, you need to take out those two hands that you say are not necessary. After you do that, you will see how difficult it is to keep your appointments. As a matter of fact, I think we should try that experiment. Take all the hands off, just leave the hour hand, which he says is the major or the main component that will show you what's going on. Let's take these hands out for a day and let's see what happens. Let's take a closer look why this cannot work. And again, I give you a digital clock here. We'll see with both of them. Actually, it's the same, but the digital clock to me is a little louder. This is a complete clock because it contains the hour, the minute, and the second hand. You can tell exactly what time your event will be or is by looking at this clock on the top here. The second clock, as you see, has no second hand. With this clock, you don't know how many seconds you are to or from the event. Is it 50 seconds away, or is it 1 second away? So if you have this clock and you're counting down to something, you have no idea when the something will happen, okay? Sometimes I can say it happened 2 seconds over here, and the other person over there can say it's not yet occurred, okay? Because you don't have the clicker here to show you when it is. Okay, imagine the New Year at Times Square, and the ball is dropping and there's no second hand. You know, anybody can declare, well, it's there. So now we have the third clock with no minute hand or no minute digits and no seconds. Do you know what time it is? Well, somebody say 1. If the hour hand is used to tell the year, we can identify that we are in 2017 or 2018 in this case. Then how does it identify the month? Okay, so the month is missing. We in 2018, which is number 1. Number 1 represents 2018, the year. What month is it? We don't know. It's just hot, so let's say summer. And how close to the end of the month or to the beginning of the month are we? We don't know. Is it March, November? Nobody knows. So the question remains, where is your second and third witness? Now, like I said in the beginning, when doing this, I noticed that people like to ask for your second and your third witness. But this brother here eliminated his 2 witnesses. Is this the Creator's mistake?
There is a reason why each clock has 3 hands. Just as our hand cannot represent the year and then still represent the months, Yahuwah has set them in the heavens to point to his exact times.
Mm-hmm.
If you take away the moon and stars, you cannot tell his appointments because they work as a group. They are his second and third witnesses. If you aren't sure that it is spring by observing the moon, you can check for turning of the sun from south to the north. If you aren't sure that the sun has turned, then look for the starry lineup.
Mm-hmm.
So you see, the Creator knows why he has set them in place for signs and for seasons and for days and years. Who are we to correct him?
Okay, so that is the question. Again, last week I gave us a little illustration about our body and how it works. If you see something but you're not sure, you listen to see, well, is that what I saw? And again, if you see it and you hear it and you're still not sure, you can touch it. And then you put all these things together and you say, yep, that is it. That is a bottle. I did see a bottle. So again, as we look at our heaven, the lineup of the luminaries that the Father has given us, they all play a particular role and they all do it together. Okay? So in the spring, they are all lined up. Like I said in the reading, you have the sun turning, going from north to south or east, south, north to south or south, got lost there, or south to north, okay, depending upon where you live and the season, okay? And you also have the barley, again, that you can check along to see whether or not the spring has begun. And then you have the stars, okay? So certain stars will be in certain places during the beginning of the year, all right? So if these things does not line up, we know that it is not spring or summer or whatever you're trying to figure out, okay? We are going to begin quoting from the very books used to attempt to prove a sun-only calendar. Let's see if those books will prove a sun-only calendar or will prove a calendar that includes all of the luminaries. Okay. And I can tell you the calendar does prove all of the luminaries, just like the brother started with his demonstration, telling us that the clock has 3 major components. Yes, they are. But we cannot eliminate the ones, I don't want to say the ones we don't like, but maybe the ones we do not understand their purpose. Babylonian calendar. Many teach that, go ahead.
Many teach that the Hebrews adopted the lunar calendar from the Babylonians during captivity. What they don't understand is that all of the early nations originally had a 360-day year consisting of 12 30-day months. As time went by, they all started to follow other societies who use the sun calendar, like Egypt. The
Babylonians.
The Babylonians had a 7-day week, so should we also abandon the 7-day week? I'll show many proofs why the lunar solar calendar is the one and only true creator's calendar.
Okay, so what we were saying there earlier is that many teach that the calendar, that the 360-day calendar is something that Israel learned in captivity. So what I'm saying here also, the Babylonians had a 7-day week. Can we also say that Israel took that from them? Okay, we know better. We know that in the beginning, the Father ordained that. So we didn't have to learn that in captivity. When we replace Genesis 1, or Genesis first chapter, with the equinox, we are refusing to accept what the Creator has done. Okay, and I block it out here so that we can see. It says that these, not just one, not the sun only, and not the moon only, neither is it only the stars. When they are used as a group, they will glorify the Father. So if you want to use one by itself, whichever one you choose, will run into error. And we'll look at that. I think we'll take a closer look at that maybe in the next presentation, not this one. They have chosen to ignore scriptures to prove their point. Some ignore the barley altogether and set Abib 1 according to the vernal equinox. Okay. The vernal equinox is the instance when the sun is directly above the Earth's equator, while going from the south to the north. For inhabitants of the northern hemisphere, it is the time that most consider the beginning of spring. Those who employ the vernal equinox point to Genesis 1:14, claiming that the sun, moon, and stars doesn't set the year's beginning. It is true that the sun divides day from night and inaugurates the seasons by the Earth's tilt, while the new moon sets the beginning of the month. Yet, nowhere in the entire Bible can one find that the vernal equinox or the turning of the sun establish the first month, Abib. And again, if we do that, let me see how I can put it. We are defeating ourselves if we say that the turning of the sun or the equinox is Abib, because if we look at the meaning of Abib, we'll see it doesn't have anything to do with the equinox, but we will look at that a little later. Nowhere in Genesis 1 does it refer to the vernal equinox. If the Creator wanted us to use the turning of the sun to mark the first day of the year, don't you think he would have told us so? I believe he did. I believe he would. You would expect him to say something like this: the turning of the sun, or the equinox, shall be to you a new beginning. It shall be the first day of the new year. We would expect, we'd have a verse saying something like that, but we don't. The vast majority of Jews gradually got away from actively looking for the green hairs of barley, going instead by the calculated calendar that involved the vernal equinox, okay? So this is something you have to calculate. This was done for the sake of commerce. Again, when we started, we tell you money plays the part of everything. If it's going to cost you, you have to do something to keep the money coming. And we are living in a time where money is it. Nobody cares about, let me don't say nobody, but those who are in business with it does not really consider life or whatever. All we consider is money. Also convenience. And these things were done not by the Messiah or the prophets, but by a heathen government system. But Yahuwah tells us that his growing cycle reveals the proper month for his feast. And we'll look at that. The first month of the year, Aviv or Aviv, means green air or grain. It does not mean vernal equinox. Where in our Bible is the vernal equinox ordained to begin the month or the year or the week? When studying, most will demand scripture to prove that the new moon is significant in the Bible or in worshiping the Father and so on. But they find it hard, or they find it out of place to ask them for scriptural proof for the equinox. Okay, and again, those who believe that will give you, scriptures. They say that this is what it's talking about, but when you look at it or you study it, you will find out that's not so. The equinox has taken a role in determining the Bible year in the minds of a number of Yahuwah's people today. Does the equinox serve a purpose in determining when Yahuwah's feast days are to be commemorated? I say no, others say yes. Is there biblical support for that viewpoint? Again, we'll look at it. The proof text given in support of the biblical equinox is found in Exodus 34, verse 22. You must celebrate the Feast of Weeks with the first fruits of the wheat. First fruit of the wheat harvest, not first fruits, but first fruits of the wheat's harvest. Okay? I believe this happens in the summer, not in the spring. And the harvest feast annually at the end of the agricultural cycle. Now tell me, what does this have to do with the beginning of the year? I don't know. Like I said, some of the things I do not understand exactly why they believe what they do, or how they see those scriptures to be different. But again, I'm just giving you my study. So I've got to be a little prejudiced because this is how I see it. While the vernal equinoxes are great for establishing Easter, there are no biblical proof that it is to be used in determining when the year is to begin. Now, if we know a little bit about the calendars again, we know that the Gregorian system has set up Easter with the vernal equinox or set up the vernal equinox to show them when Easter will be. If you don't believe me, you can do a little study about it, Easter and the vernal equinox, and it will tell you exactly what I'm saying. So it was not something that the children of Israel used to tell them the beginning of the year. Again, as we go, we'll see that in various places, our Bible is telling us which is the first day, first month of the year, and so on, and what should happen. Look for the barley and so on. There's nothing that says look for the equinox. There's nothing that says look for equal day and light or anything of that sort.
When using the equinox, because it is not a fixed object, but a specific time, in order to know when is the Shabbat is, you must go back to the time of the equinox and count or calculate from the first of the year.
Okay, so what I'm saying here is that in order for you to know where you are or when your Sabbath will be or anything else, you have to know when the equinox was. If you don't know when the equinox was, there's no way to calculate it. You cannot. You have no idea where you are. Okay? So if you live in a scenario where you have to run for your life for whatever reason, they're looking for you. You don't know when your Sabbath will be by looking at anything, because the sun doesn't show you when a day begins. The sun doesn't show you when a month begins. Or is it the first Sabbath or is it the last Sabbath? You're not going to find that by looking at the sun. So I guess you're going to have to run to the closest store and try to use the internet quick before they find you to try to find out when was the vernal equinox and so on. Okay, let's continue.
There is no way of knowing when the Sabbath is by any sign or signal of the sun. You can't look at the sun and determine when is the first or the last Sabbath of the month. You cannot tell when a new month will begin or end. Does the sun look different at the beginning of each week in order to be a signal that a new week is beginning? If you don't know the date when the equinox was, then you don't know when a so-called month is to begin or a week ends. You are lost.
Yep. So consider that, loved ones. If you don't have the equinox in front of you, or the date that they said is the equinox, then you are lost. Now, one of the things we have to pay attention to is also, how do you determine that is equal light and equal darkness? How do you determine that? Not the priests or the same science that we say that's mad science. Do you have to rely on them? As a matter of while doing this, I saw that some people who do this do not use equinox, they use equilux, and some of them, it becomes tough. Some are saying, well, the equinox that they are using is not on the 20th of March, but it's another time. So it can become very confusing. You cannot begin the year where it proves your doctrine. You have to begin when the Creator says that you must begin. Okay? So the Creator has the flag, and when he says go, that is when we go. Not the Catholic system, not brother whoever. Okay? So we have to look to the Father. And in his word, Exodus 12 verse 2.
Exodus 12:2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you.
Okay, so here we are again. How do we know what we're talking about? The word month here again means a lunation. We are talking about the moon. We are not talking about the sun. There is no definition for a sunny month. At least I haven't seen it. Okay, so if we're talking about a month that is using the sun, you cannot call it month, because month means lunation. When you say month, you're talking automatically about the moon. Okay, you're not talking about the sun. Okay, so let's take some time now and clean up your glasses and get your books or your pens and everything. And we're going to take a very, very close look at what the brother has here. And let's see if that makes sense to us. It makes sense to him because when he did that, he put his all into it. He was sweating and everything like that because he think what he has is right. Okay. And I'm happy to see that, but as I look at it, I wasn't able to see what he was seeing. So let's look at it again, and don't just see what I show you. Look at it and try to see for your own self what is there and what is not there. Like the Gregorian calendar, the Enoch calendar is a continuous calendar. It depends on the previous month, and it is tied to the previous year or the year before it. It is a continuous cycle. I'm sorry, if the continuous cycle is broken, all is lost, and so are you. Okay? If you're following it and that cycle is broken, the year is lost. Again, we're going to look at this. It's not too clear, so I'll try to tell you what we have as we go. Okay, as you look here, this is day 1. Okay, and we're looking at this week of creation, or the week of creation as in Genesis 1. Okay, and day 1, the light was created and so on. Day 2, we have day 3, day 4. Day 5 is where they say that the week should begin. Okay, they are telling us here that on the 4th day, the Father created life. Okay, so day 5 now, everything should begin because life was created on the 4th day. My question is, if life was created on the 4th day, why not start with the 4th day? Why wait till the next day? Okay, we have the 6th day, which man was created, and the 7th day we have as a day of rest. Okay, you cannot begin your count to the Sabbath within the previous year or month. Now, I'll have to try to explain this because I know that all of us are not aware or too knowledgeable about the Enoch calendar. Okay, so what they are saying here is that this is the creation week, or this is the week of creation. Like I said, you have day 1, day 2, day 3, and day 4. These, I don't want to say ignore them because I don't think that's what they're saying. But they're saying again, because life began on the 4th day, which I have in yellow here, or he has in yellow, then we must begin the week on the 5th day. So on the 5th day, guess what? We have a new year beginning, we have a new month, and we have a new week. Okay, so we have the year beginning here on the 1st, and we also have, I don't want to say the same year because this ends the old year, and then from the arrow, the 6th day, we begin a new year, a new week, and a new month. Okay? I'll try to do that again because I know all of us may not be able to get it all at once. The week, the month, and the year cannot begin 2 places or twice within a 7-day period. Okay? So what I'm saying here is that they say that the creation week began here on day 1, created the heaven and the earth. However, they're still telling us that this is the 1st day. The 5th day is the 1st day of the new year. Okay, so this is the old year. From 1 to 4 would be the old year, and from 5, 6, and 7 would begin a new year, a new week, and a new month. Okay, try not to get lost. But you can always review because, again, I know everybody is not going to be able to get it all at once. If the calendar begins the year at day 5, this then implies that the first 4 days of creation was before the start of the first year. Okay, that gets really confusing. If day 1, 2, 3, and 4 is the old year, as you can see in the illustration here, you can see day 1 would be the year, or the old year, which is day 362. Day 2 would be the old year, 365, and day 3 would be 364. Now, I don't know what happened here. That got frozen, and we start over, okay? Although they say that the new day begins on the 5th, I see they have number 1 over here on the 4th, okay? Now, again, it will get a little confusing, because as we look at this, what I see here is that Yahuwah began creation on day 1, which was the year before, the 362nd day of the year before, which they are telling us is the 12th month. And again, they are telling us in red the previous year, okay? So what that is saying is that when the Creator made day 1, there was already an old year that was fading, okay? I don't see that in the scriptures, but again, let me just continue. So are we to consider the first 4 days as non-days? I guess for this specific part, we could call it non-days. And because the year begins here, or the day, or the week, or the month begins right here, okay? Does that mean they never existed? Well, I would have to say no, because they have a number. So I guess they were there before. If not, why aren't they counted in the weekly cycle? Okay? Now, in order to prove their points, this has to be like that. Okay, we'll look at it closer, we'll scrutinize it. There are no new months on this calendar. Since the calendar relies on the previous month to tie into the so-called new month, it is implying that Yahuwah joined the previous year to begin the so-called new month. This also implies that there was a year already existing when Yahuwah created the first day. Why else would you have day 362, 363, 364? With a second witness, it's not a mistake, because they have it there showing you this is the 12th month. So it's not a mistake. Was there 12 months already existing before Yahuwah created the earth? According to this illustration, I have to say yes. You still have a third witness. It's telling you the previous year, okay? So they are claiming that Yahuwah created the new earth, light and so on day 1, but there was a previous year already running before that. Okay, that's what I see. Again, let's continue. What sign is used to determine the new month?
Okay, it looks like our brother is frozen. Brother Felix, if you can hear me. Okay.
Or neither? Yes.
Okay. You were frozen just a minute ago, so go ahead and start back with that slide again. What sign is to determine? Start again.
Okay, fine. What sign is used to determine the new month? Okay, as far as I see, there's no sign at all, because we said earlier this calendar is basically using the same concept as the Gregorian calendar we studied earlier. Because what they do is at the end of the 30th day, you start a new month by adding or making it number 1. If you look down here again, after 30, you make it number 1. If the new year is reset just by using number 1, then anyone can reset the calendar at any time by using number 1 or the number 1. Notice that neither the sun or the moon or the stars are involved in that decision to determine these new months. Okay, so there's nothing that says, well, because the moon is this or the sun looks red or there's a gap between this and that, we have a new month. There's nothing like that. It's just a matter, if you look at the graphic we started with, it shows you 30 days for the first 2 months and 31 for the third month. So that is it. As long as you have that concept down, you know your months, but you must be able to tell which day is first. Okay. Should we call it a new month?
What determines the Enoch calendar's new month? Can you look at the sun for a sign to determine this? In order to know when a so-called new month will begin, one has to know when the new year begins, then apply the 30-30-31 rule. If you don't have access to the time of the year, the new year, you'll have no idea what time of the year you are in. You would have to wait for the next equinox. Like the Gregorian calendar, the so-called new months relies on the previous month and are linked together to produce a so-called new month.
Okay, so it's all tied up. They're all tied together. Since those 3 or 4 days belong to the previous year according to them and are not counted towards the new year, or they are not counted towards the new year. How then can you use them to count towards the week to determine the Sabbath? Nowhere in the Bible are we told to count between 2 different years or 2 different months or 2 different weeks to reach our Sabbath. Okay, again, let me illustrate that for those of us who don't know. What they are saying is that, again, you see the little sun and moon there, they say that's when, since the Father created the sun and moon then, on the 4th day, then the 5th day begins the new year. However, according to their calendar, they would start here with 1, 2, 3, and this would be the Sabbath. But when it comes to counting to the Sabbath, you cannot begin here, which they say is a new week. You have to begin over here with this smiley guy. This is where you begin, and then you get 7 days to your Sabbath. Okay. Now, I must say there's another group of the same faith that teach since Thursday begins the new week, your Sabbath begins here. Okay. So we have different beliefs within that group. And again, we'll show you why both of them is wrong. Okay. So your new year begins on the 1st. Your new month begins here. Your new week begins here. But when you're talking about counting to the Sabbath, you have to go to the old year, which is these days here, which is the old month. This is part of the old week. Okay. So it is old when you don't need it. When you need it, it becomes new. Okay. So it's just like the things we have at home. If we need it, we use it. If we don't need it, we throw it away. Okay. So I guess that's the concept. If you need it, you use it. If you don't need it, you call it old. Put it aside. Let's look at the Sabbath count. The Sabbath count must begin on the 1st day, but the 1st day of the year, let's do that again. The Sabbath count must begin on the 1st day, but the year, not the month, not the week, begins on the 1st day. Okay? So the only thing you could count this day for is the Sabbath. If you count in towards anything else, you have to start over here. So depending on the results that you want, you can start wherever you like. So if you count in towards the Sabbath, you go to the old year, 362nd day, and then you'll get your Sabbath to fall on Saturday. Okay, so that's how this formula works. Let's continue to look. the Sabbath count. The first Sabbath must be determined by using 4 days from the previous year and the first 3 days of the new year. I hope I'm not losing anybody, because I know it's a little confusing, but as you study it, you'll get it. Okay, so these 1, 2, 3, 4 days here are what are they considered the old year, because as we look at the illustration, we saw 362, 363, 364, 365. So this is the old year. So when you count into an event, you do not begin here. You begin on the 5th day, which is year number 2. Okay, so the next year begin with day number 5. The next week begins here. The next month begins with day 5. However, if you count in towards the Sabbath, which they would like to fall on Saturdays, you begin with the old year. Okay, again, it is depending what you want, then you move the arrow around. Let's continue. The first Sabbath must be determined by using 4 days from, well, I put a year here to make it a little easier. But let's say that this was the old year, this is 2017, and this is the new year, 2018. So the first Sabbath must be determined by using 4 days from 2017, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, and 3 days from 2018 to get to your Sabbath. Okay, so this is how that works. Let's continue. Since Yahuwah created life on the 5th day, the new year must begin there. Okay, that's what they are saying. I don't know what's the logic there, but that is how it is. Oh, I skipped something. Does the Bible teach this? And I must say no, because I have never seen it and wasn't aware of it until I started to do this study. Okay. All right, next page. No place in the Bible does it teach that a year must begin in the middle of any week or on the first day of creation.
The 5th day.
The 5th day, yes, I'm sorry. I'm just looking at it. Okay, so the 5th day, which is over here. Okay. The first day of the year has to begin on the first day of the week or the month or that year. Okay, so we cannot have 2 first days. If we have 2 first days, then I guess, again, you'll have to manipulate it to say what you want, which is what is done. If the 4th day must be counted as the first day, why don't the Bible tell us so? Yahuwah didn't start the week twice, so why are you? Please open your Bible and give us some examples where Enoch, since it's his calendar, let's put the pressure on Brother Enoch. Let's open your Bible anywhere that you would like and show me where Brother Enoch illustrates this. Again, I put the 2 years here so that we can see the difference. Day 1, as we can see from it, is the 362nd day of the last year, which is the 12th month, and it says the previous year. Okay? When you come after the 4th day, the 5th day becomes life. Okay? Although it says 2nd day, I'm lost because they say that this is the day where everything should be reset, and then day 5 should be number 1, but I see number 2 here. So anyway, let's continue. If your calendar begins on the 4th day, how can you calculate 7 days to Sabbath between those days? Okay, so here you're going to have a magician to help us with this part. The day begins, or the week begins here on Wednesday. Let's read it as it is. And day 1 is on Thursday. Then you have Friday and Saturday, which is their Sabbath, is the third day. If the week begins right here, how can you have a Sabbath after 3 days? Okay, that is my question. Shouldn't the 7-day Sabbath then be on the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th of every month? Like the Christian calendar, this shows an allegiance to Saturday, which has nothing to do with the 7th-day Sabbath. Okay? Now I must tell you that there's another group that is using Sabbaths on not Wednesdays, but Thursdays. Okay? But according to them, if the day begins here, all we have to do is count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Your Sabbath should be on every Wednesday, not every Thursday. Again, Thursday would be the 8th day. But again, I cannot say much about it. Yahuwah's calendar begins with the number 1, and we see that everywhere. The first, we have no such instructions on creation week any place in our Bible. Let's look at some examples of number 1 being first. Exodus 40 verse 2. On the first day of the first month shalt thou set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation. Okay, so when is the tent supposed to be set up? On the first day of the first month. So my question is it the first day or is it the 5th day? Are we supposed to automatically adjust this, or is it already adjusted? You know, and if you adjust it, the moon is going to be wrong, all the feast is going to be wrong. So that tells me that the Father didn't adjust anything. He gave it to you just as he wants you to have it. Okay? So any adjustment was made by man. Leviticus 23 verse 5. In the 14th day of the first month, at even, is Yahuwah's Passover. When referring to the first month of the year, through the Bible, do we see Moses, Enoch, Elijah, Noah, anybody, or any other compensating days or adjusting days to begin the count on the 5th day? No, not once. I haven't seen it. On the first day of the first month, and as you can see from the calendar, there's no year before that we have to adjust anything to. Number 1 is the first is number 1. The first lamb is not after counting 5 lambs and then you have the first lamb. No, the first lamb is the first one that appears. Okay, if you're talking about your children and you say my first child is a girl, you're not counting from the 5th child, you're counting from the first. If there's any adjustment that you want to make, then you have to tell people these are the rules to my adjustment. Let's continue with creation week. If the week begins on the 5th day, why would the Father declare it a 7th-day Sabbath 3 days later? Okay, so that doesn't add up. Again, we have the first day on the 5th, and then we have the 3rd day is a Sabbath. And we don't have that in our Bible. Okay, so I have to say this is made up. The Father declared the 7th day a Sabbath because he started with day number 1. That's the only way you can get a Sabbath there. Okay, we will elaborate on that a little more. Exodus 20, verse 9, 6 days shalt thou labor and do all your work. So you have to labor 6 days, not 3. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah, not the 3rd day. So if you labor only 2 days, actually, and you can even say 3 because the Sabbath is a day of rest. So it's actually 2 days. So nowhere in our Bible tells us or talks about or discusses or implies that you rest your Sabbath or you have a 7th-day Sabbath at the end of 2 days. In order to be called a 7th-day Sabbath, you have to have 7. You cannot have a 7th day on the 3rd day. It doesn't work like that. You have to count 7, and number 7 would be the 7th, not the 3rd. One then can say that man was created on the 6th day. So let us begin the calendar with that day, okay? So somebody else can say that. Since man was created on the 6th day, why don't we begin a calendar on the 6th day? You can begin your calendar on any day that you wish, but Yahuwah's calendar always begins with the 1st day or number 1, okay? So you can begin your calendar anytime you want. We're still on creation week. Since the moon was created on the 4th day, it has nothing to do with the Sabbath, okay? That's one of the main, let's call it one of the foundation blocks that they use to tell you. Then we must have, then we should have no Sabbath. We should not have no Sabbath day at all, because the sun was also created on the 4th day. So here is something that what's the right word? That kind of baffled me, because we have the moon created on the 4th day. We have the sun created on the 4th day. But these people will tell you, you cannot use the moon. The moon has nothing to do with the Sabbath. It doesn't define the Sabbath because it was created on the 4th day. However, they use the sun, which was created the same very day, to tell me you can use the sun. So please, it really baffles me to see that type of dialogue, because to me it's something that's not thought out. Why would you tell me, you cannot use the moon, but you can use the sun, and both of them was created or made or assigned on the 4th day? Okay. The Sabbath is not based or influenced upon events taking place during creation week. Okay. I am saying that the Sabbath day is not influenced by anything that happened. Creating the cows and the birds out of the water, creating man, creating the sun and moon. The Sabbath has nothing to do with what directly happened on those days. If we do that, you can make a Sabbath any day you want on the 2nd day and fix it up to have your Sabbaths fall whenever you want. But instead, it is based upon which day he or the Creator made the light, the animals. I'm sorry, one line down. We did this already. It isn't based on these things, but it is based, the 7th day, the Sabbath or the 7th day is based upon the 7th day of the week, from day 1 through 7. Notice that man was created on the 6th day. He had not worked for 6 days, but rested on the 7th day or the Sabbath. Okay? So even man, if you have to look at it, he didn't do anything. He didn't work for 7 days, but he was commanded to rest. So that tells us that the Father's work is what we are dealing with here. Not man, not the beasts of the field, nothing of that sort. But when he began on day 1 and when he rested on day 7, that is what the Sabbath is about. The Sabbath is based upon a weekly cycle or 6 working days and rest upon the 7th day. Exodus 20 verse 9, Exodus 23 verse 12.
Exodus 20 verse 9. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work. Verse 20. But the 7th day is the Sabbath of Yahuwah thy Elohim. In it thou shalt not do any work. Exodus 23:12. 6 days shalt thou do thy work, and on the 7th day thou shalt rest, that thine ox and thine ass may rest, and the son of thy handmaid and the stranger may be refreshed.
If the week begins on the 5th day, then there's no cycle of 6 working days. It is called the 7th for obvious reasons. It is the 7th day and not the 3rd. Okay? Do we have any example or special instructions in our Bible that the first month or the first week should be identified, or I'm sorry, should begin differently than the month following? Do we have any examples? Or did Moses, Paul, Enoch, or anybody tell us when we are beginning the year, this is how you must begin the year? You do not use the first 4 days. You must start from the 4th day, which is new, and begin your count. Do we have that anywhere? I don't think so. Let us continue. Jubilees chapter 5, verse 22.
Jubilees 5:22. And Noah made the ark in all respects as he commanded him. In the 27th Jubilee of years, in the 5th week, in the 5th year, on the new moon of the 1st month. And he entered in the 6th year thereof. In the 2nd month, on the new moon of the 2nd month, till the 16th, and he entered, and all that were brought to him into the ark. And Elohim closed it from without on the 17th evening.
Okay, so here we are. Do we have mention of a count from the equinox? I don't see it. Maybe it's there, but I don't see it. If we look at it again, and Noah made the ark in all respects as he commanded him. The Father commanded him what to do. In the 12th and 27th Jubilee of years, in the 1st week, in the 1st year, on the new moon, okay? And I really don't understand how we stay around the new moon and it's written everywhere, okay? Anything that Noah had to do, that is what he used. So I don't know how we can stay around it and ignore it while it is there. So Noah did not adjust. He didn't wait 5 days and begin number 1. We don't see anything like that. The Father has never broken his cycle by starting the week over on the 5th day. He called the 1st day, day 1, for a reason. It means that this is where he began. The fact that you recognize day 5 as the 1st tells me that you acknowledge that the week must have started with day 1. You cannot count to day 5 without acknowledging that the first 4 days existed. Okay, so you would only count to 5 by addressing 1 to 4. It is a fact that the true Bible calendar recognizes 6 working days, the new moon, the 7th day Sabbath. How can we prove this using what is called the Enoch calendar? Let's look at Ezekiel 46 verse 1. Let's see if we can fit that on that calendar.
Ezekiel 46:1. Thus saith sovereign Yahuwah, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be opened, and in the day of the new moon it shall be opened.
Okay, so we have 6 working days, we have the Sabbath, and we have the new moon, and that calendar. Let's see how it work out here. Okay, so it's saying that you cannot have these specifics using the Enoch calendar. Let's see why. Because in the creation week, which they call the new month, there is no new moon. Okay? The week begins on the 5th day. So you don't have 7 working days, 6 working days. Then there's 2 work days, not 6. Remember that you cannot have a 7th day Sabbath after 2 working days. The new moon begins the Bible month or the Bible year. Exodus 12 verse 2.
Exodus 12:2. This month shall be unto you the beginning of months. It shall be the first month of the year to you. Enoch 78:12. On the first day it shall call new moon.
Shall, yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Because on the day of the illumination, yes.
The illumination begins to set upon it.
Yes.
Okay. So on the first day, it is called the new moon. Now you have people arguing, no, it's the black moon, no, it's the yellow moon, it's the full moon, it's the red moon. But it's right in front of us. And the same people who are making these arguments read from this book. Okay. On the first day, it is called the new moon. Why? Because the illumination is beginning to set upon it. It's starting to light up. Okay. So not darkness. It didn't say that darkness is falling upon it. The new moon begins the Bible month, never the equinox. For Samuel 20, we have an example there using the new moon, and it tells us. For Samuel 20, verse 5, and chapter 20, 18, and downwards.
For Samuel 20, verse 5. And David said unto Jonathan, behold, tomorrow is the new moon, and I should not fail to sit with the king at meat. Let me go, that I may hide myself in the field until the third day at even.
All right. Well, let me just stop you there for a second. So what we are seeing here is that David is saying to Jonathan, tomorrow is the new moon. Okay. So let's see what happens. Remember, we say when the illumination begins to set on it, it is called the new moon. And then he's saying on the third day, I will do something. So where is his count beginning? Is it the equinox? Is it from the fifth day? I don't think so. If it was from the fifth day, he would tell us, well, count to 5 and then I will begin to look for you or whatever. Let's continue.
For Samuel 20:18.
So third day from what? It's the third day from the new moon. Let's continue.
Then Jonathan said to David, tomorrow is the new moon, and thou shalt be missed, because thy seat will be empty. 24. So David hid himself in the field, and when the new moon was come, the king sat him down to eat meat. 27. And it came to pass on the morrow, which was the second day of the month, that David's place was empty. And Saul said unto Jonathan his son, wherefore comest not thy son of Jesse to meat, neither yesterday nor today? 34. So Jonathan arose from the table in fierce anger, and did eat no meat the second day of the month.
Okay, so here we are. Sorry for cutting you off. Here we are. So we see that the count began with the new moon. Then he's saying it is the second day. So let's continue again and see if we're talking about the equinox coming in and then we're going to count or anything like that. First Samuel 21, 3 days from the new moon.
First Samuel 21, 5. And David answered the priest and said unto him, of a truth women have been kept from us about these 3 days since I came out, and the vessels of the young men are set apart, and the bread is in a manner common, yea, though it were sanctified this day in the vessel. These verses are very clear that the new month never started after 30-day cycle that began with the equinox, but there are many proofs that the new month is tied to the new moon.
Okay, so when you show people these things, they tend to sway a little bit and go around the corners and try to tell you, no, that's not so. As we looked at in one of the previous teachings, they will tell you that the new moon and so on was just designed for feast and so on. And if we're not counting feasts, they would go back to the sun calendar and then count their days. Okay? Ask for one of those illustrations or verse to prove that, you're never going to get it. But as we look through our Bible, we see that everything is counted from the new moon. And it's telling you when you want to begin from one new moon to the next. Lunation, okay? Not a sun month or whatever you want to call it. But the times run from lunation to lunation. And it doesn't matter how they try to degrade what we are saying by eliminating the moon and telling you the moon is not a good witness or solid witness or whatever they want to call it. The Father says to use it. You can call it whatever you want. This is what he asks you to use. So let's continue. The new moon begins the Bible's month, not a count from the vernal equinox. Jubilees 7 verse 2.
Jubilees 7:2. And he made wine from there and put it in a vessel and kept it until the 50th year, until the first day on the new moon of the first month.
Okay, so here we are again. It's telling you, it's defining for us when the new moon is. The first day. Okay, put that together with what we have looked at. It's telling you again, the new moon is the first day. There's nothing telling you after the 5th day you start fresh and you make a new day. There's nothing like that. Now, those who disagree with this fact attempts to shade it up by reading the same verse this way. And he made wine. Actually, I took this directly from one of the translations. And he made wine from there and put it in a vessel and kept it until the 5th year, until the first day on the new month of the first month. Now tell me, weren't you lost there? I was. But this is how they get away from using the new moon. They don't want to see it. They take it out of their scriptures because they said that it's misleading. Okay? So it depends which way you want to lead to. You take the road that leads you there. And we cannot do it that way. The Father has set his lights in motions for us to use. We cannot use what we want. In the kingdom age, will time be measured by the equinox? Because if this is what the Father wants us to use, I believe he's going to use it. Let's find out. Revelation 22, verse 1, 2.
Revelation 22, 1 and 2. And he shewed me a pure river of water of life, clear as crystal, proceeding out of the throne of Yahuwah and of the Lamb. Verse 2. In the midst of the street of it, and on either side of the river, was there the tree of life, which bare 12 manner of fruits, and yielding her fruit every month. And the leaves of the tree were for the healing of the nations.
Okay, so here we see it again. In the coming New Jerusalem, you're not going to use an Enoch calendar. Here it is. Every month, every lunation. Remember, the word month is not associated with the sun. Okay, that month is a lunation. So they can dodge it as much as they want, but you have to deal with the word month. And again, it's quite a fight to try to show you the word month is not moon and the word moon is not month, and let them go ahead with that. Isaiah 66, 23. Maybe Revelation made a mistake. Let's look again.
Isaiah 66, 23. And it shall come to pass that from one new moon to another, and from one Sabbath to another, shall all flesh come to worship before me, saith Yahuwah.
Okay, well, what they're going to have to do, when the new moon comes up and it's time to worship, they're going to have to say, well, we wait until the sun have turned, okay? Because they don't want to come from one new moon to the next. They don't want to come through a lunation. So they're going to have to wait till the sun has done its business, and they look up and they see, oh, it's time to head for worship. Okay, maybe they can do it that way. Those who observe the so-called Enoch calendar will tell you that the word moon does not mean month, and that it was a mistake or misunderstood in the King James Version. Okay, so they're telling you that the people who changed, or the people who interpreted our Bible, was misled. Okay, and they give us this mistranslation that is an error. So they are saying you cannot use that. As you read from the Apocrypha, you will notice the same translation. Are you saying that it just so happened that they made the same mistake over and over in various books with different translators? Okay, so when they did the King James and they did the Darby Bible and all of the different Bibles before 1611 and up to now, they are using the same word. All these people have made a mistake, is what we're saying. Then you have the Apocrypha, you have the other books, and so on. They are still telling us that these translations now is making the same mistake by translating the word the same way. What a mistake. Sirach 43, verse 7 and 8.
Sirach 43, 7 and 8. From the moon is the sign of feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection. 8. The month is called after her name, increasing wonderfully in her changing, being an instrument of the armies above, shining in the firmament of heaven.
Okay, and we have it. The month is called after her name. The her there is the moon. That's what we're talking about. So where it is that you find the month is called after the sun, please send it to me. The book of Jubilee or Jubilim, when attempting to prove the 364-day calendar, the book of Jubilee, Enoch, and Joshua is most certainly on their schedule. Why would Yahuwah give Noah, Enoch, and others a 364-day calendar to practice, while all indications in those very same books point to a 360-day calendar? Let's prove it. Jubilees, Enoch, and Joshua, are they proof books?
Can anyone give examples line upon line? And please don't forget to quote precepts upon precepts. Where in those books is the equinox with reference or use leading or counting to any event, such as New Year's, new month? Do we see any example where they started their count on the 5th day and counted to any event? Did Noah do anything using the equinox to begin his count? Did Enoch? How about Moses?
Okay, so don't bring half the verse. Bring us, according to study and rules, bring us 3 different witnesses according to, that's what they use. Bring us 3 different witnesses where you see in the book, in any book, where the equinox is used and reference, let's say, to a feast or to any event. The equinox is used in those books. The new year, show us where you find that. Oh, it's a new month. Let's use the equinox and show us when the new month begins, or how to find the new month using the equinox or the 5th day. You start on the 5th day and count. Okay? So when you have that, please email it to us and we'll be happy to make some changes here. Instead, what we see is all of Noah's feast were to begin on the new moon. And the question is why? Okay. The book of Jubilee, chapter 6, verse 23.
Jubilee 6:23. And on the new moon of the first month, and on the new moon of the fourth month, and on the new moon of the seventh month, and on the new moon of the 10th month are the days of remembrance and the days of the seasons in the 4 divisions of the year. These are written and ordained as a testimony forever.
Okay, so if we were supposed to do some changes from the fourth day, verse 23, I guess, would not tell us on the new moon of the first month. It would have told us that when the first day begins, you count 5 days or 4 days, and then you start whatever you're doing, Noah. Don't just look at the moon and start. Okay, we don't see that there. Jubilees chapter 6:23.
Jubilee 6:23. And on the new moon of the first month. Can someone please point out to me when Noah adjusted the calendar to begin his count on the 5th day?
Okay, so I guess not. What was used to determine Noah's feast and memorials? Was it a count from the equinox? The answer is no. Jubilees chapter 6, verse 25.
Jubilee 6:25. And on the new moon of the first month, he was bidden to make for himself an ark. And on that day, the earth became dry, and he opened the ark and saw the earth. 26. And on the new moon of the 4th day, on the 4th month, the months of the depth of the abyss beneath were closed. And on the new moon of the 7th month, all the months of the abyss of the earth were opened, and the waters began to descend into them. 27. And on the new moon of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen, and Noah was glad.
Okay, so here we are. I wonder why in all of these verses, the new moon is important. But today we are told that they are not reliable. Why use them? Let's use the sun. Okay, so it's a little baffling to me, because if the sun only is supposed to be used, Noah would use the sun, and he would put his peg in the ground and see where it fall, and then know what month it is and stuff like that. But we don't see anything like that happening. Where is the equinox referred to in those or any other instructions? No place. Were the Hebrews still using the moon in the New Testament, or so-called New Testament? Was the equinox, was it the equinox, or did they convert to the Julian calendar of their time? Okay, so we're asking, what is it that they were using in the New Testament? Did they use the equinox? Did they use the moon? Or did they use the Julian calendar that they had at the time of Messiah? Colossians 2:16.
Colossians 2:16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink, or in respect of your set apart day, or of the new moon, or of the Shabbat days.
If the moon wasn't used then, why would this be important or even mentioned? Okay, so if they were not using it, because some people teach since Messiah come, everything has changed. But we see that the same fashion, the same thing is still going on. They still use the moon in the so-called New Testament. Psalms 104:19.
Psalms 104:19. He appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knoweth his going down. The moon shows his appointed time. Sirach 43:6. He made the moon also to serve in her season, for a declaration of times, and a sign of the world. Verse 7, from the moon is the sign of the feast, a light that decreaseth in her perfection.
Okay, so here it is. I mean, it's well spelled out. But again, you're going to find, because they do not believe these verses, they are going to tell you, but the Sabbath is not a feast. When, as you read Leviticus, verse 3, the first feast that is mentioned there is the Sabbath. But because, again, they refuse to acknowledge that, they will tell you that the Sabbath is not a feast. Okay, so that is not a subject, but I just wanted to point that out. All feasts are counted from or begin on the new moon as day one. Can you point to, or are we given any instructions where we must begin with a count from the equinox? And please don't forget to include your scriptures. So what we are saying here basically is, why would the Father give Enoch a calendar that he has never used? That is the question. And again, we have come to the end of part 2 of our presentation. And I hope it was not too much for us. And again, those who do not understand it or are not that far ahead in that, I guess as time comes by, you will have it, when you get there, to be able to see it. Our third phase, or the last part of this presentation, is going to be very, very intense. There's a lot that is going to be touched. So I'm going to ask everybody to come prepared for that one, because this one has a lot. There's a lot we're going to look at. We're going to go in depth and look at dates and times and prophecies, and we're going to look at instructions. And we're going to place the two calendars side by side and see which one is the Creator's calendar. And the Creator does not have 2 or 3 calendars. As we read through our Bible, you're not going to see 2 different instructions, one for the feast days, one for the other days. That's not found in your Bible. Again, all of the previous civilizations, as you read and you study, you're going to find that they all used a lunar calendar. Now, what makes a big problem for people is that they do not understand that you cannot use a lunar calendar by itself. I have looked at presentations, and people are saying, you see, look, it's only 354 days. Look at this. And they try to show you all types of stuff using one calendar. And even in the book of Enoch, we're going to touch that next week also, that you're going to see that. All right, so we cannot use any one calendar. I think we've been saying that from presentation number 1. You cannot use any one object or luminary or what's another word, in the sky, and say that it is your calendar. If you do that, you don't have a second or third witness. It's going to be hard, because you're going to have to know a lot in order to use any one instrument to do anything. I mean, the sun is just bright. It rises up in the morning and sets in the evening. Every day it does the same thing. How would you see Monday or Friday looking at the sun? I know there's a verse that says that, but is this what it means? Can you look at that verse and tell me, yes, my brother, on Wednesday when we look at the sun, we can see it's Wednesday? Or it is the first Sabbath coming? We cannot. We just know that the sun has to be a certain place in the beginning of the year. We know that the moon has to line up certain place at the same time. And we know the stars are associated with them has to be there. If that doesn't happen, we know it's not a new year. Simple. But if you want to use one luminary by itself, you cannot look at the others to tell you or to help you. That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so we're gonna stop here for today, and we try to keep it short and beefy so that we don't get tired. So this is it. I'm gonna turn back to Brother Yona.
Okay, Mishpachah. Okay, let me see. My video. Okay. All right, family. I want to read something first. A couple of things I want to bring out, and I want to thank Brother Felix for his hard work in putting together the presentation, and also for his wife for helping him out with the presentation. I want to read a couple verses, and then I want to show you all something real quick.
Okay.
Just want to do a quick review on a couple of things Brother Felix presented. First of all, let me pull it up on the screen. Let me pull up the Bible. I want to go to the book of Judges 21 and 25. And just give me one moment, Mishpachah. Share my screen here. Okay, so let's go to the book of Judges, chapters 21 and 25. 21 and verses 25. This is what it says. It says, in those days, there was no king in Israel, and every man did that which was right in his own eyes. Why did I bring this up? Because not too far from where I stay, there is an intersection that didn't have a stoplight. And there were many people who died because every man did what was right in his own eyes. You want to go your way, you feel you have the right of way, you're going to make your move. The other person believes that they have the right of way, they're going to make a move. And then when you have these differences in mindset, you're going to have an accident. And so just recently, the local government decided, well, we had enough people dying, so we're going to put some rules and regulations in place. You know what they call it? A traffic light. Now, Brother Felix brought up the traffic, well, he brought up that there are 3 witnesses. He gave the example of the clock. You have the hour, you have the minute, and you have the second hand. If you don't have the second hand, you don't know the minute when the minute is gonna arrive. If you don't have the minute hand, you don't know how much time before the hour arrives. So the 3 of them is there. I mean, we don't see, you probably might find a few watches with maybe 5 or 10 hands on it. They have their reasons for that. Maybe microseconds, I don't know. But the standard for direction is 3 witnesses, right? So what do you think that the locals came up with? It's called a stop sign, stoplight, traffic light. How many do we find at the traffic intersection? How many do we find? 3 witnesses. We see red, we see yellow, and we see green. Now, if there was only red, red, and red.
Refresh your screen, Yona.
Refresh my screen?
Yeah.
Okay, let me do it again. Seems like the devil is trying to mess with everything today.
Good.
Okay. All right, so the society said we need to have some order. They says, we're not going to give you 4. We're not going to give you 5. We're going to give you 3 witnesses. They didn't put 3 colors of red, 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 and more red, because there will be accidents. It'll be like the same thing. Okay? What they did was they put red to the top, which I would call the sun, hot, burn, death. They put yellow in the middle to know the transition. And from that transition, we know that we have the green, that we can move forward to the next lane, the next day, the next turn, the next wherever, left, right, whatever. It tells us when we can make that move. This is so simple that even in our stomachs, society have set up times which we call lunchtime, breakfast time, lunchtime, and dinner time. That even the restaurants know when to prepare foods the most. Now we know that in between people eat, but the majority have a fixed time that they all meet, whether it's breakfast, whether it's lunch, or it's dinner. And we all go about that without no accidents whatsoever. But when it comes to the Most High luminaries, we have confusion. I'll give you another example. So they're saying, according to 2018, the vernal equinox happened on March the 20th. March the 20th. Let me see if I can give a good, right here. March 20th, 2018. They said at 11 a.m. So you're not starting anything until 11 a.m. Now, if you go and look at any calendar, and I'm going to pull up this calendar right here for an example. I hope everyone can see it. March the 20th is on a Tuesday. So if the new year begins on a Tuesday, now notice this calendar has Monday as the first day of the week. And have Sunday as the 7th day of the week. Y'all see this?
Refresh your calendar, refresh again.
Uh-oh. Let's give it a try. Let's give it again. Okay, I hope everyone can see it now.
Yes, that's good.
Okay. So using this example, March 20th, 2018, excuse me, Tuesday would be the first day of the year, or you can call it Wednesday as being the first day of the year, whichever one that the equinox people utilize. But the problem is, as Brother Felix is showing, is that if the year begins on Tuesday or Wednesday, you have a short week. Why is it that when we look into our brothers who practice the Enochian calendar with the equinox, how come they keep Saturday as a Sabbath? That means that they have 2 calendars. Because if Tuesday is the beginning of the week, then Monday is the end of the week. That would be your 7th day. Is that correct? And then Tuesday will be your 1st, Wednesday your 2nd, Thursday your 3rd, Friday your 4th, Saturday would be your 5th, and Sunday will be your 6th. But they keep Saturday as a Sabbath, even though that they look at the new year beginning with March the 20th or the 21st. So you can see, even in their system, there's 2 calendars. One to start the year for them, the imaginary thing that happens only once a year, according to their logic, their studies. And then we revert back to the Gregorian Saturday. So we have a serious problem here. Okay, I want to read. Two more scriptures, and that's in Isaiah 24:10, and then we'll take some hands. That's in Isaiah, book of Isaiah, 24:10. 24:10. Okay, so Isaiah 24:10 makes this statement. He says, the city of confusion. It didn't say it's built up, but the city where people dwell of confusion is what? Broken down. Every house is shut up, that no man may come in. So when we have confusion, Mishpachah, we have a system that destroys us. We break down. We don't build up. Okay? Let me take this final one, and then we'll take some hands. Psalms 71, the book of Psalms 71. And verses 1. In thee, in you, O Yahuwah, do I put my trust. Let me never be put to confusion. Hallelujah. Why did I bring this as a final text? Because people are not putting their trust in our Elohim, who made the heaven and the earth, the sun, moon, and stars. We call it the luminaries. We resort to men telling us when the week begins, when the week ends, and such like and such like. When the simple thing is, again, a hurricane, earthquake, you're buried under the ground, you're in a cave, you have lost your memory, you have lost everything. But one thing that is never going to be lost until the Most High set up the new body for us is that the heaven, the moon, the sun, moon, and stars will continue to do what it's supposed to do until Yeshua has finished his work on this earth. That means that no matter where we are on this earth, Mishpachah, we can look up and see the sun, moon, and stars and know that there is an Elohim, and know when the Shabbat's going to be, and also know who are the children of Israel. The Bible clearly says, again, if you can count, if you can number the stars, if you can number the sand, then Israel will no longer be a people unto me. So the Most High holds his luminaries to also point out to the rest of the world who Israel is, his times, his seasons, his Shabbats, his festivals, everything is based on his luminaries. If the world can put up stop signs for order, systems for order, why can't we follow the order that our Elohim has established? So that's all I want to say on that. So let's see, we had some hands here. And I believe that, I think I saw Brother Obadiah's hand. Where is Obadiah? Okay. Brother Obadiah, what's on your mind? Shalom. Okay, let's give him a moment.
Shalom, family.
Shalom,
Can I
Brother.
be heard?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Shabbat shalom. I just have one question. Are we going to get to the ceremonial calendar and then the feast calendar or civil calendar?
You mean for the next presentation?
Right. Or before we finish?
The ceremonial calendar.
Yeah.
When the feast start to be kept. And what's the other one that you mentioned?
I don't know if it's something the Ashkenazi started, but supposedly they're claiming there was a civil calendar, and then there was a
okay, I got you. Yeah, so they believe that they start their new year in the fall and not the spring, and basically they're saying, well, the two calendars, that's them. Israel never had two calendars where we have a civil one starting in the fall, and then we revert back to the ceremonial one, which is the one that the Most High gave to Moses. So, I mean, the answer is very simple. We don't follow that.
okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I wanted to be sure.
Yeah, because their calendar starts in the fall, then there's an interruption. You have a rest period of winter. Then you start with the spring again. So then you have a problem. We should start with the spring and move through the harvest from the first season to the second season to the third season, and then we rest. Yeah, you don't start work and then you rest, and then you start work again and then continue work for a period of time. It's backwards. Okay.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you, Rippy. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, let me move him back. Okay, then we have Brother Benjamin. Brother Benjamin, what's on your mind? Brother Benjamin? Okay, let's see what's going on here. Okay, let me get Brother Benjamin.
Shalom.
Shalom, Brother Benjamin. What's on your mind?
Yes, Shabbat Shalom to the family.
Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Okay, I have a question here. When Yahuwah made the sun and the moon to stand still during that time with Joshua, what happened to the count for the year?
Brother Felix?
I must tell you, I'm not certain. I haven't studied that. That's probably something I need to look into. I have heard several things which I don't even want to mention because I haven't proved them. I like to reference things that I have studied. I am not sure. I don't know if Brother Yona could help you there.
Well, I can just give a quick understanding. Now, if the Most High decide he wants the sun to shine for 30 hours, for example, and then the moon to pick up after that, what are we supposed to do? We're supposed to let the sun do what it's supposed to do. When the sun sets, that's the end of a day or end of the light part, and then we have the night coming through, which let us know when the night is over and the moon has finished its purpose, then we have another day beginning. That will let us know it's 2 different days. Even if one day is 30 hours long and the next one is 5 hours long, it is still a cycle that the sun has to go through. Okay? So it's not, if we have to use hours, then of course we're going to have some situation in that sense that we have to account for, because the sun stood still, and also the Bible says the moon also stood still. It wasn't just the sun only. We also have in the days of Hezekiah that the sun went back, how many degrees? 10 degrees?
10 degrees.
Yeah, 10 degrees. So we have to give an account for that. Now, of course, Yeshua came about and says there's 12 hours in a day, so people are stuck to that. But if the Most High wants to make us the sun, for whatever reason, to be 2 hours, okay, that's the cycle that the sun is going through for that time. Then the night comes about, and then when the sun comes up in the morning, that's another day. So don't let the hours set us back, that we become, we start making bricks again. It's just that the Most High gave us the sun to rule the day, or the warmth, and he gave us the moon to operate at night. And that gives us a transition from one to the other and such like. I hope that helps for the time being.
Yes, it does.
Okay, any other mishpachah? Any other questions? We'll take one more, and then we'll say we will close out. Okay, we got that covered. No, that was just Brother Benjamin disconnecting. Okay. Any other questions, Mishpachah? Everybody's good so far? Yeah. It's the Rivka. Red, stop. Yellow, slow down. And green to go. Okay, so brothers and sisters, it's really not difficult. It's just that men has complicated something so simple that any child can look up and see, Dad, there goes the moon. You can actually physically stand there and look at the moon, but the sun will burn your two eyes out. Okay?
And not only that, you have to rely on somebody to tell you when is equal light and equal darkness, because I think the average person have no idea what that is.
Absolutely. And men can sway you to do whatever that man wants you to do. So let's prepare ourselves to close out here. Let me see. Give me one moment. Okay. So, brothers and sisters, if you don't have any other comments or any questions or anything like that, we will close out with a Vizot HaTorah. Okay. All right. Let me see. Let me share the screen. So, I hope this has been helpful to our family. I know we will get some criticism. That's part of the walk. I know some people are set in their ways, and they will always make an argument. One thing Israel is good at is arguing back and forth. That's why we had the scribes, the Pharisees, the Herodians, and we had so many other groups, Sadducees and whatnot. So our Messiah, according to the book of Micah 4, will come to set the record straight when he will teach us again in Zion. So there'll be no confusion. That's why it says from one new moon to another. People can put whatever they want on a piece of paper, but he will tell us, this is the new moon, this is what it looks like, and I want everyone to appear before me. Otherwise, I'm going to turn off the water supply, and you'll have no water, and you'll have a famine, and you'll have sickness. So, Mishpachah, it is what it is. Let us get ready to close out with a Vizot HaTorah. And hopefully everyone can see it on the screen. Vizot HaTorah.
HaTorah Asher Sayem Moshe
Lifnei b'nei Yisrael al-pi
Adonai b'yad Moshe.
And this is the Torah that Moses placed before the children of Israel at the command of Yahuwah through Moses' hand. Ha'etzkaim hi.
Ha'etzkaim hi lama kazikim ba v'to mekeha ve'osha ve'rakeha darkeno am ve'kol netivoteha
Shalom. Hashebenu Adonai Eleka v'nashuva Kadesh Kadesh Yamenu Kadesh Yamenu Keke. It is a tree of life to those who took hold of it, and those who support it are praiseworthy. Its ways are the ways of pleasantness, and all its paths are peace. Bring us back, Yahuwah, to you, and we shall come. Renew our days as of old. At this time, we will ask Dod Shmuel to render the final tefillah and also give a blessing upon the meals and the offerings and everything before our Elohim in Yeshua's name as we all face towards Jerusalem.
Heavenly Father, we want to thank you once again to be in your presence, to offer praise and thanks to thee. We thank you for the servant who tried explaining the lunar Sabbath. We ask you, Lord, to continue to bless him. Bless each and every one of our hearts, those who listen and those who understand. May you help your words to be in their hearts so that they could continue to press on to the mark of the high calling which is in thee. Bless the food and bless the offering, those who give and those who could not have given. We ask you, Lord, provide for those that they too likewise could give. Again, we ask you to continue to be with us and make us children of righteousness, so that when thou shalt come with your angels, we all will have a place with thee in your wonderful kingdom. Because we do ask it, Lord, in your wonderful name I pray. Amen. Let the words of our mouth,
Meditation of our hearts
be
be
acceptable
acceptable
in
in
thy
your
sight.
sight.
Oh, yeah, our strength and our redeemer. Amen.
Yivarech Adonai v'yishmarecha. Yad Adonai panav lecha v'yikuneka. Yisa Adonai panav lecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Yehovah bless you and keep you. Yehovah make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. Yehovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you peace. Shabbat Shalom,
Shabbat
family.
Shalom.
May the Most High bless and keep you. Until next time. Shalom, shalom to the whole house of Yisrael.
Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you, Brother Felix and Sister Felix. Shalom, family. Shalom, shalom, shalom. Take this.
Nice, Brother Felix.
Shalom, shalom.